live in, but you couldn't figure out just what it was, then you've come to the right place. Secret societies, mystery religions, and the Illuminati have been controlling our reality since the beginning of time. But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. My friend, disciple of the Lord, sent this over to me, and I felt the need to cover it for obvious reasons. With all this stuff going on with the Me Too, hashtag Me Too, people coming forward, women coming forward, talk about sexual abuse. It's this big thing that's trending and going on. I didn't even hear about this story, but it's 2 days old. And I haven't seen it covered really in too many mainstream outlets, but nonetheless, this kid who was in the show Stranger Things, his name is Finn Wolford, is claiming sexual assault and harassment from his agent. And this is what Hollywood's all about, folks. It's not just because these people there are talented and become agents and producers, okay? They're all in on it. They are all involved in these secret organizations, and all of them are involved in pedophilia. And they control the music industry. They control Hollywood. They control politics. It is not a coincidence. The article says the Los Angeles-based talent agency APA fired Hollywood agent Tyler Grasham on Friday following allegations that he sexually assaulted and harassed multiple young men in the industry, prompting one of his top clients to leave the firm. Now, this kid is 14 years old, but he's saying that he's allegedly been abused and harassed for quite some time now. Absolutely disgusting. Grisham first came under scrutiny Monday when filmmaker Blaise Lipman alleged that as a teenage actor a decade ago, the same agent had fed him alcohol and then sexually assaulted him. At least 2 other men, an editor and actor, have since come forward with stories of more recent unwanted sexual advances and harassment by Grasham. The Times interviewed each of the accusers. Additionally, the 14-year-old actor from Stranger Things and It fame, who had been represented by Grasham, left APA, according to a source who was not authorized to comment. A representative of Woodford's did not immediately respond to a phone call and email seeking comment. A second client of Grasham's, 18-year-old actor Cameron Boyce, had also decided to fire the agent before Grasham was terminated by APA. The actor's publicist said in light of the allegations, he felt it necessary to part ways with Tyler Grasham. And you could see this guy, Tyler Grasham, this agent. I mean, you could just tell by looking at these people. You could see it in their faces. A lot of these guys, they're openly gay in Hollywood and stuff. Well, guess what? A lot of them, if not all of them, are pedophiles as well. Now, this is where they start to mention the Me Too thing. It says the men said they were inspired to speak out as part of the Me Too campaign, in which social media users have aired their experiences with alleged sexual harassment in response to the unfolding scandal surrounding disgraced film mogul Harvey Weinstein. More than 40 women have complained that the co-founder of the Weinstein Company sexually harassed or assaulted them for over 2 decades. So this is where it gets tricky, right? Because we know that this Me Too thing is a massive distraction that they've created. They've made this thing go viral. That's what they do, okay? And now when you lump this in, you have to remember, we can't fall into the trap of saying, well, look, some people are coming forward, and because they're not exposing what these people really are. They're not talking about the occult. They're not talking about Satanism. They're talking about it isolated incidences, which protects all of these people. Right? We've heard Corey Feldman come forward before without naming names, but he's never mentioned, satanic rituals. What these parties were like where these producers were seducing the kids and doing all this stuff. They just make it sound like, hey, there's some creeps out there in Hollywood. It's all of them. In this brotherhood, they all take a vow and an oath of silence. They all do these same terrible acts. That's why this stuff never gets out. Because if somebody was going to leave and say, hey, I'm going to go tell everybody what you all did, they'll just say, Okay, well, that story will never get out, but we'll get a story out about you because you did the same exact stuff. And we'll blast it on CNN and NBC, and everybody will know you're a pedophile. And you were involved in murders and rituals and all sorts of stuff. And we'll tell them you have child pornography. So this kid coming forward, it shouldn't be a shock for anyone who knows what's going on in Hollywood, for all the people listening to this channel who know about the occult and how these people follow Aleister Crowley's teachings, how pedophilia runs rampant. These people are Satanists and occultists and members of the same secret societies. But the Me Too thing, remember, all this stuff came out about men being these predators on women. And now we're hearing this story, which is related to pedophilia and groping of young children. And it's not the first time. It's not going to be the last time. But you can't fall into the trap of thinking, well, this is wonderful news. This is going to open everything up, because they still leave out the important information. You know, the kid's not coming out and saying, well, you know, they were taking me to these rituals and they were partaking in sex orgies and all this other type of stuff. Okay, they just make it sound like there's this one creepy agent who's grabbing kids' rear ends and doing all sorts of disgusting, disturbing acts, who needs to get his teeth knocked out. And then everybody thinks that this whole thing is going to blow open. It would be wonderful if it all blew open. I'd love for it to blow open. I'd love a story like this to open the floodgates. But remember, all these actors, they're controlled by the same handlers. You know, there's a group of handlers who control them and control their decisions and control what they can and cannot say. Stories don't get out unless they want them to get out. So this guy was fired. Gresham was fired. It says Lippman, 28. This is the other guy who was allegedly molested by the same agent, whose acting credits include appearances on TV shows including Weeds and Hawaii Five-0, made allegations in a Facebook post Monday. Lippman alleged in the post and in a later interview that the incident occurred in the summer of 2007 when he was 17 or 18. He said he could not remember which and was new to Hollywood. He said Gresham took him to lunch under the pretense of having APA represent him. Lippman said Gresham ordered him alcohol over the actor's protests that he wasn't old enough to drink legally. The agent then brought him to his home and sexually assaulted him, Lippman said. After the incident, Lippman alleged Gresham made harassing phone calls to the actor and spread mistruths about him in an effort to hurt his career. In the post, Lippman blamed APA for allowing Gresham to keep a stable of clients that included child actors. He said, I find it incredibly difficult to believe they do not know of his predatory behavior, using his position within the company to prey on naive kids. All truth to that. These people do prey on these kids. These people in positions of power do. It's the same in politics. It's the same in corporations. It's the same in music industry. It's the same in Hollywood. They use their power to manipulate. But don't forget these other things that need to be mentioned with this stuff. You know, in order to keep these kids protected, this whole thing needs to be blown open. And the only way it's going to be blown open is if they make it, if people come forward and talk about how many people are involved, what's really going on, not that it's these isolated instances, right, where we just hear about, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so, but not, you know, an entire industry filled with this. All of the people involved are all in on doing the same things. You don't think these women who are coming forward who are claiming Weinstein was sexually assaulted are witches and Satanists themselves? Of course they are. They're taking their orders. So this kid's taking his orders, apparently, I believe, coming forward, because there was something like that. Even if he gets out there and he's trying to say, hey, you know what? I want to tell my story. I feel inspired. Because, you know, some people just, you know, it's not like this guy's a huge star and he wanted to post about it. I don't know why he wouldn't have done it years ago and called this guy out for sexual assault. I don't know why he wouldn't call the police right then. And I don't want to hear, oh, because he was trying to make it in Hollywood. You're sexually assaulted. You know, you do something about it. You should do something about it when you're a 17-year-old or an 18-year-old male, as he's claiming. But for him to come out now and, you know, for Feldman again to be resurfacing, talking about this stuff, I feel like it's part of the narrative that they want out there, because I feel, and this is just my opinion, you know, I know I'm always the Debbie Downer with this stuff, because when stuff like this happens, people go, can't you just be happy? You know, maybe something good is coming of it. And I do, you know, want to believe that. But remember, they control, I mean, this is getting printed in the LA Times, It's on E. Okay, these are controlled resources for information. If they didn't want it there, it wouldn't get published. These editors of all these magazines, newspapers and stuff, they're all part of it. They all attend the Bohemian Grove every year. They get their orders there about what the agendas are. That's why they all produce the same type of content, pushing the trans agenda, right? Pushing the fake news narrative. So this whole narrative now that's coming out with Hollywood and with abusing, women getting sexually harassed, and there's so many things that are going to come of it, especially with free speech, okay, with conforming and, the 1984 tattletale type system. And the stuff with the children that we're going to hear about, we're all going to go, oh, this is great. We want this out there. And listen, every story that comes out about these guys being pedophiles is good. But it doesn't get to the source of it, because if people just continue to, in their own mind, perceive that they're isolated, and when they realize that it's not isolated, that the Masons are targeting kids, the Satanists are targeting kids, they're all targeting kids, they're preying on kids. This is not isolated incidences. If they realized it was massive, then it would blow this thing open. So just be weary of stories like this when they do come out. And listen, I want to be positive about it. Never say never. Of course, did this likely happen to the kid? Of course it probably happened. It definitely happened. But the fact that the narrative is out there with the names attached to people who really aren't important to them, probably, some agent who clearly was getting careless, doing some disgusting acts to children. Who knows what else the guy has done? He could just be a fall guy. We could hear more stories about this guy coming out in the next week, taking a little bit of attention away from Weinstein, going to this guy and saying, well, this is Hollywood's a predator in Hollywood who's preying on kids. And, everybody will go against him, and they'll make the actors look like they care about pedophilia, and they'll make the industry look like they want to get rid of these pedophiles out in Hollywood. And they'll never tell you, the stuff about the occult and the teachings that they follow, and how this isn't just, these things aren't isolated. All these people who are claiming to be against it are really in on it. So that's the stuff that's important to remember. But I just wanted to share that story with everybody. Again, pray for all these kids. Pray that kids do come forward and they're not afraid to expose these people, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's, SRA victims, because pretty much these victims in Hollywood are SRA victims, realistically, they're involved in satanic rituals. They're likely, obviously abused. So pray for all these people, these children. And we'll see what comes of this, but just always have your eye on it and say, listen, the narrative doesn't get out unless they want it out. Where are they going with this? And to me, making it look isolated, making people fall guys, like Weinstein is this big fall guy. Now this guy could be a fall guy for pedophilia, and it just takes attention away from the vast amount of what's really going on. I thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.
This week on Survivor, Yellow Jackets Edition.
It's been a tough couple of days for me. The spike pits.
Do not get impaled.
She slipped. The wolf challenge. What are we even gonna eat?
Shauna, the tribe has spoken, and they're hungry.
Whether you like Yellow Jackets, Survivor, or a little bit of both, find your mountain of entertainment on Paramount+.
I'm on a porch. Old Spice swagger. Buy it on Instacart now.
1992 was the end of an era, but there wasn't much of a rose-throwing curtain call. Instead,